You have found the mushroom cult foraging video number 4, where we are on the way to meet mycologist and conservationist James Wieser. He reveals one of his big oyster treasures, describes how he found it and some of the ecology of the area, as well as some conservation practices that he's been implementing.
Yeah. Here's what it looks like.
Sure. Yeah, we got some cottonwoods, and it looks like an elm that have been chopped down.
Yeah. Now, that actually, it looks like what's going on is that in front we have a cottonwood tree, because look at the bark. That's cotton bark. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3 cottons that were all 3 here, and then that elm actually grew in the back. So this is actually a cotton that is on, which quite frankly, this is the only cottonwood tree on
Top secret
that I've ever found oysters, period.
Okay.
Now, I find them all the time on basically cotton, or the standing willow, you know, the big fat willows that kind of grow up always at an angle like that.
Yeah.
That's where they basically, that's where they reside here on this creek. They're not really so much in the cottons. They're fully on, and again, it's still in the poplar family basically too.
Describe what you're doing up here though.
Okay, what we're doing up here is we found these about a week or so ago. More or less what I did is there were some that were ready to go, which I harvested and made some kits out of. And then basically I just literally, these were too small to really bother with at that time, and I wanted to let them grow out and sporulate and basically allow them their chance to reproduce. And so now we're back just to check them out. So it's been 8 or 10 days, I think, since I found these. And again, this is how you get mycelial mileage. You know, it's good for the mushroom, it's good for the environment, and it's good for you, because guess what? There's a hell of a lot more here than what we started out with, and you'll see that in the pictures.
Yeah. Let's see what you got.
Hold on a second. We got traffic.
Oh, don't let anyone know.
Sorry, we've got traffic going by. We're not trying to advertise our treasures here. We're trying to hide them. So anyway, these guys are just perfect. I mean, that's a perfect eating mushroom right there, still enrolled. The problem is that these guys, when they're enrolled like that, they're not sporulating yet. And even if you harvest them and put them on, if you take them too early, they just never produce spores. So you've got to let them, you know, sit and do their thing, which again, like I said, it's good for everybody. So anyway, we've got another batch coming up right here.
Oh yeah.
So
those aren't producing spores, and they're not making the next generation.
Yeah, again, if you take these mushrooms, basically, again, they're great, they're good edibles, all that sort of stuff, but you're really robbing the ecosystem, you know, of the purpose for this organism in our environment.
So maybe you could harvest the large ones, eat
Well,
those, and leave the little ones, and not ever harvest those?
Again, 8 days ago, the ones on the other side of the tree that we're going to look at look just like these guys here, but now, what do they look like? With a little covering, because the bottom line is if they were in the sun like this and it's been 70 degrees, they would be pretty much desiccated, and they wouldn't be happy. You know, they might just be barely cracked and like, you know, suffering through it. But the fact that I've actually, you know, covered them with, literally there's this bark, the bark's falling off the tree over here. I just took that and put that in, put them in the shade. I actually watered them the first day I was here. I watered them a second time when I came and looked at them the second time, and I watered them a third time yesterday. So the bottom line is it just literally putting liquid onto the surface of the mushroom. If you put if you get a mushroom that's dry and you put a liquid on there, it just like evaporates. It just disappears right into the mushroom. It absorbs that liquid, and it goes right into utilizing that the moisture to do its business. All right, let's go around the other side.
So we'll just take a look over here. Walk through this pile of weeds, and we'll see what's going on over here. So these are a little bit farther along.
These guys, they're way ready.
Yeah, dang, they're big.
They're pretty much, they're drying out. They're kind of past their prime right now, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. So they've basically had their chance to sporulate, they've done their business, and now they're ready to take home.
Nothing wrong with eating those.
This was a perfect, they were basically maybe dime sized. They were looking just like that. There's a big cluster right here, just a couple days back.
Oh wow.
I filmed, and now that's a good eater. That's probably 2.5 pounds.
Yeah. So if you picked them the first day you saw them, you would have got just a handful.
Would have basically maybe had an omelet for myself.
But now you can make multiple dinners.
We've got a ton of stuff that's going on.
And you can see some spores on the top. from the other mushroom.
Yep. So these guys are just kind of up here. Left those as well. They weren't big enough, so now they're perfect.
Yeah.
So again, you know, this is a good way to be, you know, conservationist and get more for you to eat too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
So,
thanks for showing us that.
absolutely. So we're going to come in and we're going to grab these guys and we're going to go back and we're going to get some mycelial mileage. And again, if you're not going to use them, leave the damn things. If you're going to take some caps, just cut off what you're going to eat, leave the rest, because it'll literally grow back through itself back into this log here, and it'll be here next year. What we're basically going to do though is we're going to actually deplete this mycelium somewhat. Fortunately, as you can see, this is a huge tree,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of reserve in here, and we can justify that because we're going to go back, we're going to take these guys here and we're going to make 10 mushroom kits that we're going to then give out to other people, which they're going to put in their yard. And so we're going to multiply this and guarantee that this particular species, not the species, this individual within the species is basically going to be out in 10 different places making you know, new kids out there.
Great.
So that's what we're going to do. All right. Oh, I forgot. Here's another little thing. If you need chips and then you're down by the creek, this is cottonwood. This is the absolute perfect, because as you can see, when they chew it, they actually shred it, which creates a tremendous amount of surface area.
Yeah.
The mushrooms just get
Excited.
for this stuff here because it's got so much surface area they can grow right into it. And then I got a treat. These are actually Mycenistrum coriums, which are actually quite small because they weren't growing in a super good area. But these guys, they're really nice puffball, nice edibles. Yeah. That's the pasture puffball, I think they call that guy.
Interesting.
I'll give you one of those.
Cool.
All right, so
soon.
how are we doing here? All right, so we're gonna get ready. We're gonna take down our little barrier here as soon as this guy gets from behind us.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna grab our mushrooms. We don't want to be, you know, too obvious about it because they'll disappear in a heartbeat. So the wrong person sees it, and then they'll be competing.
Yeah, someone who doesn't really care will just come and rip it apart.
They'll just come up here and tear this up. All right, so we're gonna come in here, get this guy, and as I said, we're gonna take the whole. Normally, you don't need that stem butt. Don't take it. We need the stem butt because we're gonna use it. So
Yeah,
there's
for
number
propagation.
one.
Yeah, that's a really nice piece.
Okay, it's perfect.
Yeah,
See?
beautiful.
Yep. We can even. I'm gonna even probably take that and take some spores as well. And then, okay, so we left this chunk here. That'll actually go back in and reabsorb back into the tree.
So then we'll cover it up to keep it from
cover
drying
it
out
back
too
up
quickly.
again so it doesn't dry, and it might put another flush out there. Probably not, but you know.
Well, later in the season, probably for sure.
We have respect for other organisms in the ecosystem, and we're here to be their mutualistic partner and not flip them over. Pretty simply put, huh? Anyway, so this guy up here, he's all right. I don't want to rip all this bark off here because this is literally what they like. So we're gonna kind of come in and come here, you. There it is.
Nice big stem on there.
That's a beautiful stem butt right there. We're gonna push this back in here. Again,
Look
it's
at
gonna
those
kind of screw this up a little bit.
stripes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So there you go.
So here we are in the lab where we've taken a small sample of the giant oyster that James found, and we are going to process it in sterile conditions in order to capture some of the genetics. And we're going to just split it open to reveal the sterile tissue on the inside. Now when James was talking about making kits from this, he was going to use the stem butts in a non-sterile way to transfer it over to substrates like wood chips and cardboard without using these sterile procedures. And I hope to go over those in the future. But for now, we're just going to proceed with the sterile techniques. First, we want to make sure that we have a clean blade. And I like to use a brand new blade for cloning because the blade is very sharp. When you flame sterilize the blade, there's actually a chemical process that damages the blade, and so it's not nearly as sharp. And also, if you take a flaming hot blade and use it for cloning, you are going to cauterize the tissue, which at best is going to slow down the growth rate. At worst, it's going to cook the tissue. So here I'm making a small incision, taking a very small sample and being careful with my dirty hands, putting it right in the center of the plate. I'm going to take another sample here. I'm not flaming in between because I want to maintain that sharp blade, and also I'm just being very careful not to contaminate the blade. And since I'm using the same genetics, I'm not concerned about cross-contamination. So that's my cloning process right there. And I'm going to just label it. This is Pleurotus pulmonarius. I'm going to put the name of the species, a little note on where I got this genetics, and the date so that I know how long it's taking. And that's about it for the sterile process of getting started on the cloning. The next step would be go to grain and then to sawdust. For more on mushroom cultivation, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or on our website, mushroomcult.net.